Hey everyone, welcome back to another build showcase. Previously, I've shown you both the easiest dual wield build and provided a general overview so you could start crafting your own builds. However, I'd be remiss if I left my Khazan coverage without highlighting the strongest dual wield build in the game. I briefly mentioned this in my dual wield overview, and now I feel confident I've mastered it enough to provide a detailed breakdown. This build is definitely more advanced and intended for veteran dual wield players. If you're newer to the game, I'd still recommend starting out with the Howling Blade spam build to familiarize yourself and get comfortable with the game first. But trust me, once you master this playstyle, it's far more fun, exciting, and powerful. In fact, I'm currently over 75% of the way through a no damage run, exclusively using this build. Stay tuned until the end, where I'll include a sneak peek of one of these no-hit fights against a mid-game boss so you can see this powerhouse build in action. Right off the bat, it's important to understand these core skills: Deafness, Reversal, Outrage, Flash Cutter, Breeze Dash, Counterattack, Parry, Ruthless, and finally, Wind Piercer. Deafness is a passive skill that propels you forward whenever you attack and immediately dodge forward. This entire build revolves around Deafness due to its incredible power. It effectively replaces Whirlwind and Howling Blade from your primary attack sequences, though Whirlwind does still have situational uses. Deafness stands out because it deals exceptionally high damage, consistently staggers enemies, rapidly depletes enemy stamina, and makes you almost completely impossible to get away from. In many ways, Reversal resembles Deafness. It's attached to your backward dodge and may require some practice, but it deals great range damage, gets you out of trouble quickly, and perfectly caps off your combos. Every dual wield player should master this ability, as it adds tremendous versatility and damage to your arsenal. Much like some of the other options later on, Dragon Slayer is not a one-size-fits-all choice. For the most part, both heavies are a waste of your time and skill points because the base heavy is actually just better in the early game. But there is one specific situation where Dragon Slayer is not a bad choice, and that is when you are facing an enemy that has a very short exhaustion timer, so you don't have the time to land a backstab on them. This is pretty common in the late game. For these enemies, a charged Dragon Slayer will do more damage in a short burst than the base heavy is capable of. I absolutely would not recommend leveling this ability until at least the mid-game when you fight Boss 9, and I would consider it to be a tech choice. It's not something you will want to use all of the time. The Massive Blow Outrage combo is acquired extremely early on, and you can pretty much use it for the entirety of the game, to easily dispatch enemy mobs. But more importantly, it's also extremely powerful versus bosses. This combo allows you to stay mobile and land huge burst damage via heavy attacks, that also shatter the enemy's stamina. Flash Cutter is your ultimate crutch ability. Costing only one spirit, it swiftly dashes you towards enemies and nullifies incoming damage with very generous invulnerability frames. It's excellent as a gap closer, enabling relentless aggression and allows you to bypass tricky boss mechanics. If you find you're having trouble dodging a particular ability, just use Flash Cutter instead of dodging. One of the great parts of this ability is that it is used for its utility, meaning you just put one point into it to get the effect, and then you can save your other skill points for more important skills. I owe Breeze Dash an apology. I was not familiar with its game. I overlooked this skill on my first playthrough and previous build guide. Initially, I thought it was vanilla and weak. Well, the first part of that statement remains true. Breeze Dash is anything but weak. It excels in extending combos without using stamina. Have you ever faced a situation where an enemy was just one hit from exhaustion, but you had no stamina left? Of course you have. And Breeze Dash fixes exactly that. At a minimal cost of one spirit, it quickly continues your combo and finishes off the enemy stamina. Additionally, you can use it to dodge incoming attacks while turning them into extra hits for yourself, and use it to continue your stagger on an enemy without poise. Cheap, quick, effective, and reliable, this skill will always be part of my dual wield arsenal moving forward. Mastering counterattack is crucial regardless of your weapon choice. It blocks enemy burst attacks, breaks their stance, and fully restores your stamina. Counterattack transforms defensive moments into offensive opportunities, allowing continuous aggression. Learning counterattack with this build is incredibly important, as counterattacking enemy burst attacks is usually what allows you to begin your combo and endlessly stagger the enemies. Similar to counterattack, mastering reflection can significantly enhance this build by consistently putting enemies on the defensive. Reflection is extremely challenging to learn, so if this is your first playthrough, it's fine to skip this skill initially. On my no damage run, I learned just one reliable reflection opportunity per boss, which drastically turned fights into my favor. If you can learn just one reflection opportunity, it basically means the boss has 20 to 30% less health than they would otherwise. Unlike counterattack, which activates when enemies hit you, reflection requires earlier timing. Your weapon must connect with the enemy's weapon or limb before their attack reaches you. Ruthless is exceptionally powerful, but niche. When maxed and utilized correctly, Ruthless delivers unmatched damage. Opportunities to maximize this are very rare, so I swap it in and out depending on the boss I am facing. A great opening is often after a successful counterattack against enemy burst attacks, staggering and heavily damaging the foe. It also works well in regular exploration for swiftly dispatching tougher enemies. Windpiercer throws an axe at your target, dealing sustained damage and teleporting you directly to the enemy upon hit. Initially weak, the skill shines once fully upgraded, around the mid-game, when range bosses become very frequent. The extra gap closer and high damage it offers becomes invaluable later on. Lastly, let's fit in another conversation about Whirlwind and Howling Blade. For the most part, I don't really use either of these with this build, at least during the early and mid-game. Depending on the boss, I'll occasionally swap out a skill and add one of these in instead. But mostly, you won't want to use either because Deafness pretty much just completely outclasses and replaces both of them. Generally speaking, Whirlwind is the better of the two with this build, because if you are highly skilled, you can use it not only for solid burst damage in specific openings, but to dodge enemy skills that are ground based, allowing you to deal damage while avoiding attacks, much like Breeze Dash. At full build, with unlimited skill points, I would recommend running around with Whirlwind and swapping in Howling Blade if it makes more sense versus a particular boss. This is what my build skill tree looks like during the mid-late game, where I have about 50 skill points and my build is pretty much completed. As I mentioned before, I recommend swapping around Ruthless, Windpiercer, and Breeze Dash, depending on the boss you're facing and your own playstyle, although you should have them all fully maxed out by the end of the game. I'll detail endgame armor shortly, but early armor choices depend largely on your preference. I mixed and matched different sets throughout my run based on enemy matchups. However, consistently using at least 4 pieces of the Butcher set is highly recommended for dual wield builds. It's very easy to craft in the early game after obtaining the scroll in the Nameless Cavern during the Human's Islands quest. It's also lightweight, granting A-rated agility, which gives you enhanced stamina regeneration. It also significantly boosts raw swift attack damage and multiplier damage, and gives you Chain, which substantially increases your stamina damage output. The ideal endgame armor set is really up to you, which is one of the things that makes this build so good. You can mix and match armor depending on your boss matchup. The main thing that you'll want to aim for is the 32 jar mark, so you can get yourself a jar helmet. These helmets allow you to mix and match sets according to not only your playstyle, but to pick options strong against the bosses you are facing. Here's an example of the build I used to finish off most of my no damage run. This is the better set of the two for confident, offensive-minded players. This one is primarily suited towards dodging and abusing the power of Windpiercer. The 4-piece Butcher set grants us all of the same benefits I mentioned earlier, except now, with the jar helmet, we are freed up to get more strong singular pieces. I like the Executioner 2-piece bonus because it's just straight up 15% stamina damage without a need for activation. Stamina damage in this game is stupidly powerful. For my other armor slots, I kinda mix and match depending on how I'm feeling and what I'm testing out. I will say that in my testing, anything that boosts damage is what you want to go with. Primarily stamina damage, but raw damage is very strong as well. Some of the more powerful accessories are the 3-piece warrior set bonus, from using the ring and the necklace, that give us more spirit and much stronger wind piercer damage, allowing us to spam wind piercers for big damage. Another fantastic accessory set is the pilgrim set, which is what I'm wearing right now. If you're fighting a boss where you are not using wind piercer often, then having the extra heavy damage and spirit from it is very strong. A second example of a set that is tankier and more for a Brink Guard playstyle is the 4 set bonus for Chaos Ridden, which grants regeneration and spirit among other powerful things. I also like the Defector set here, which grants us with a ton of extra spirit to spam whatever ability we want to use, and then round it out with the Beast Slayer's dual wield for just a bit of extra damage. As mentioned earlier, you can mix and match anything depending on your boss and your playstyle, as long as you keep that 32-piece or 42-piece jar on your head. Neither of these sets were really built with New Game Plus in mind, where some other options may rise up to the top. Whichever new pieces become powerful, the one thing that is for sure is that you should be using a jar helmet that reduces the set bonus requirement by 1. For your Phantom Companion, I recommend Conrad the Swift. Conrad delivers peak damage and strength among other Phantoms. He rewards high-skilled, dodge-heavy playstyles. The payoff is massive if you master it. The second option is Maximilian the Impenetrable, who is the superior option for more Brink Guard style bosses or playstyles. Both of these choices are fantastic, with Conrad being a little bit stronger for the true masters of this build. Before acquiring the upgrades for either of these Phantoms, you'll just want to be using Kesha the Undying for pretty much 75% of the game. He's an extremely well-rounded, solid Phantom that you won't have to even think about. Your combat approach should ideally allow enemies to engage first. Guard or dodge initially to lower enemy stamina and boost Conrad's damage. Once ready, respond with counterattack or parry, then launch relentless aggression using Ruthless, Breeze Dash, and Deafness depending on your situation. These skills will continuously stagger enemies, preventing retaliation. Utilize Flash Cutter against tough to dodge attacks, and Wind Piercer against evasive bosses. Upon exhausting enemies, capitalize with a powerful heavy backstab attack, or with Flash Cutter's final upgrade, and then repeat this cycle until the enemy falls over. As a reminder, there is a full level by level guide in the description. Thanks so much for watching this advanced dual wield build guide. Mastering this build has been incredibly rewarding and fun, and I hope you find the same enjoyment and power from it that I did. If you have questions or suggestions, feel free to leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And as promised, let's wrap things up with a sneak peek showcasing exactly how this build handles a challenging mid-game boss during my ongoing no damage run. Enjoy the footage, and I'll see you in the next video.